this is Mary Ann Hughes, one of the co-founders of Divorce with Special Needs Children, and I'm thrilled to bring to you an interview with Crystal Williams, a mediator and alternative divorce dispute resolution consultant.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of a mouthful. So, Crystal, can you tell us about yourself and who you help and how you help and your expertise and how you can benefit families who have a child with special needs going through divorce or other challenges related to their disability and planning for the future?
Sure. So my name is Crystal Williams. As Marianne stated, I am a mediator. I currently do special education dispute resolution for a few different states. I also am an alternative dispute resolution consultant supporting some school districts locally here in California. Um, I am passionate about supporting students who have special needs. I was a special education teacher for 15 years. I'm a college university professor in teacher education programs. I'm at a couple universities here locally in California. I've been doing that for about 3 or 4 years. So anything that has to do with children with special needs and making sure that they are getting access to what is going to support them, and that's something that I am very passionate about. Um, I am working in the divorce space as a consultant or co-mediator. I'm available for either. I specialize in cases where families are navigating special education needs in the middle of the complexities of their family separation, divorce, or whatever it is that we're calling it. I know that all families parents aren't necessarily married, right? But maybe they still have things that need to be decided on and settled. If they have children with special needs, and I'm a person that they could reach out to. Some of the things that I do is help clarify educational rights and responsibilities. So there is a distinct difference in the rights between the parent that is deemed by the court as the education rights holder versus the parent who is the non-custodial parent. And really, I just want to be able to help identify which parent has legal authority to make those educational decisions, but also how does that non-custodial parent, what rights do they have in the IEP process? So, for example, I just worked a case where there was a new court order. The father recently lost his education rights, but had been an active participant in the IEP meeting. He was struggling with the fact that he no longer had the ultimate say in placement and services, but he wanted to make sure that his voice was still being heard. So I was able to coach him through the process, what types of language not to use to not escalate any conflicts within the IEP setting, how he could share his concerns, at what points he should jump in and share his concerns. And then in having that conversation, then he and his soon-to-be ex-wife were able to say, you know what, I hear your concerns about this. However, in speaking with the team and touring the school, whatever the scenario was, this is what I believe is in the best interest of the child. And just the fact that he had finally been able to get his voice heard really turned around that entire IEP meeting. They had, gosh, I don't know, 3, 4 meetings prior where it had just kind of blown up before everything got to get done. And at the end, I received a nice little note and he, thanking me for my fairness, being firm, allowing him to have voice. And that's really what I want to do is make sure that parents are active participants in the process. As it is right now, there aren't enough instances where both parents are actively participating in the IEP process. So to the extent that I can support that parent that normally isn't the person that participates in how the best ways to participate, happy to do that.
Great. Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so, just to clarify, so as a consultant and advocate, you can support one parent and help them. And then, but as a mediator, you'd be a neutral and help both parents. Is that right?
Yeah, well, so I actually really prefer instead of being an advocate for either one, I like to really support the both of them in the changes that are happening, right? So I guess I keep my mediator hat on when working with the both of them because at the end of the day, they have to be able to work together to do what's in the best interest of their child. So me only supporting one and not really lending voice to the other doesn't seem to be the best way from my perspective to do that. I prefer to, even if it's separate conversations about what both parents want or think the child needs, just really that clarity around who is the ultimate decision maker is the part that really comes into play where there's a little bit of difference in how I coach them and what it is they can do. But I do prefer to work with both parents and support them through the entire process because
Great.
it does need to be collaborative, in my
Wonderful.
opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate you clarifying that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so just, there's some other things that I've done. Like I mentioned before, I really like to facilitate a collaborative co-parenting when it comes to education. So acting as a neutral party to ensure that both parents' perspectives are being heard during the IEP, helping them to come towards consensus on education decisions. Some parent communication coaching because the words that are used, I did a TED talk where I talked about like the impact of words, and definitely the words that are used during the process are really important. So I like to provide tools or just, have some coaching sessions to help those parents communicate constructively about what their child's educational needs are. I also like to support parents in really thinking about supporting continuity of services. How can we create some stability across homes? So, students who have IEPs, right? They generally have some type of accommodations or supports written into their IEP, and I'd like to help families look at how can we make sure that these accommodations and supports are consistent across the home environment. So if a student has difficulty with comprehension at school, they're likely having difficulty with comprehension at home, right? So making sure that parents understand what their child's disability eligibility means, what their strengths and areas of growth are so that they can make sure they're supporting the strengths, right? If you have a child who likes to be helpful and you want them to do chores, but they have an auditory processing deficit, just telling them which chores to do in which order is not going to be helpful. But maybe having like a task list of what chores to be done so that they can check off is going to help. Keeping that consistent between both homes is going to help the child know, okay, it doesn't matter where I am. If I have chores to do, this is a system set up for me to make sure that I get them all done. That's going to be helpful. So however, whatever things are happening among in one place or another, it's better to kind of make those consistent when possible so that the child has a better possibility of generalizing. So we don't only want them to implement skills and show growth at school, we want them to be able to show that across their home environment as well.
Right. Do you see that some parents reach out to you over time if they work with you to implement some strategies and support them? They might come back to you in the future for more support.
Absolutely. So I don't consider myself like a one-time, support. Parents are more than happy to come back if they have follow-up questions. Maybe we can just do a short consult, or maybe it's something that needs an entire conversation. But I'm definitely willing to help. I mean, just thinking about the process of having an IEP, that's a year-long document, right? So the IEP meeting is one day. The IEP process is an entire year. So if they need any support at whatever time throughout that process, they can definitely reach out to me. A parent has a right to request a IEP, and the school has to honor that within 30 days. So if there's a situation that comes up where they need to have an IEP, maybe they're not sure exactly what they're asking for or what they need, but they just feel like something isn't right, then I can kind of talk to them about what is their concern, how to address that concern to the team, because at the same time, they also have to be working collaboratively with their school team. I really do encourage parents to be open with their school teams when there are transitions happening within the home, within the family, so that if the student starts to have any type of behaviors or any type of difficulty as a result, then everyone can work together. So I really do stress this collaborative piece where the parents are working together, but also working together with the school district as well. So let's say if, as a part of divorce, somebody's going to be moving. If we're going to look at new schools, what things are you looking for in a school? What kinds of questions do you maybe want to ask when you're going to this tour? Is there a way to set up an IEP meeting with members of the old team and members of the new team to kind of bridge the gap to make sure that everybody knows what was already in place and what supports might be needed now in this new setting. Um, and then also just navigating disputes about educational decisions, right? I can offer mediation between parents if there's a disagreement that arises over services, placements, or educational decisions. Because even though one parent does have ultimate say, you still want to have that input from the other parent. And if they can't, um, come to a conclusion, or one parent doesn't feel comfortable making that decision by themselves, but they're having a struggle in communicating, then I can support with that also.
Right? Do you ever come in as the final decision maker? If say they have 50-50 and they can't come to a decision, do you help them try to come to a decision? Or who do you suggest become that, that final decision maker?
Well, if the court has, deemed that they have equal decision making, then I try to talk to the both of them and see if I can. Sometimes in the confusion is things that necessarily don't have to do with what's in the best interest of the child, right? Maybe there's some ego that can be creeping up, or I just have disdain for this parent now that we've separated, and I don't want to work together with them, so I'm going to say no to everything they say yes to. Well, really helping them to bring the focus back to the child's unique needs and not their conflict, and bringing the conversation back to student-centered planning is really how I like to approach that. So, just really helping those parents see, in the larger scheme of things, this is about what is gonna make sure that your child has access to the best education possible. So really kind of looking at which things are parent issues versus what is at the heart of the issue dealing with the student. And if parents need support with reviewing documents, understanding what it says in their IEP. Some parents, maybe they've never looked at the child's IEP because the other parent was the only one that participated in the meetings when they were together. Looking at those records and being able to identify, this is what it says the services are. This is what their placement looks like. This is how they receive their services. These are their accommodations. Do you have any questions or concerns around what's written in the document? Do you know how to request changes? Things like that. So there's so many different ways that a person that has, my extensive knowledge of special education, but also has practice as a mediator. Not only am I a disability informed mediator, I did a training with Moss and Guthrie. I'm also a trauma informed mediator. I took several courses through an organization called the Echo Parenting Network around trauma and its impact on the classroom, impact on youth. So I'm really big on really looking at all those things collectively because I definitely, divorce is one of those ACEs. If you've never heard of the Adverse Childhood Experiences Test, definitely look into it. But divorce is listed as an adverse childhood experience for young people. So we also not only have to look at the fact that they're going through trauma because their family is separating. If they have a divorce, are they able to process what that means for them, their family? Are they now feeling uncertain, unstable? And then also, the fact that when students have trauma, you really want to look at all the ways that you can support them emotionally, psychologically, educationally. Like I said, they could experience some difficulty. So we really want to stay on top of that, especially for students who have disabilities, but also students, maybe they don't have an IEP, maybe they have a 504 plan. Are they going to need some new supports around whatever mental health struggles that they might deal with or whatever difficulties they're going to have as a result of their parents going through divorce? So although I do focus on children with special education, general education students who might have a 504 plan may also need some of this support as well as far as their parents if they're going to separate.
Great. We saw a wealth, like a wealth of information and definitely great support. So, do you also support other professionals who might need you to come in and assist with
Oh,
some?
yes, so I can certainly come in as a co-mediator. If you have a particular case and you really just aren't certain about what the legal ramifications are of a particular area with regards to special education, I'm definitely somebody that you can call in that that can support with kind of talking through things, helping you brainstorm what questions to ask. I have a little checklist that I have people give when we're getting ready to talk about special education related issues and divorce. Well, I need to have a couple of things just to start us off to make sure that everybody is coming to the conversation with the right information. So, yeah, I definitely think that that's something that I bring to the table that other mediators can learn from. Can it's one of those things where so there's a reason I don't practice divorce specifically. It's because I wasn't trained in family law. I don't have that background. A lot of mediators that are in family law, they may have all the knowledge in the world when it comes to paperwork processes when it's related to a divorce, but don't know necessarily anything about the nuances involved in special education. So if you need someone just to come in on a case you're already working to act as a co-mediator or just consult with your clients, that's something I'm also able to do.
That's wonderful. And you mentioned you're based in California. Do you support clients around the US?
Yes, so I am happy to support anyone virtually. I suppose if it was if it made sense, I'm willing to travel and to be in person if it's something where it's going to be working across a few days or something like that. But I do the vast majority of my work virtually, but obviously in California, I'm available in person, but also willing to travel depending on the needs of the family.
Wonderful. And how can people reach you?
Oh, yeah. So people can reach me via email at cwilliams@whitewilliamsadr.com, or my website is www.whitewilliamsadr.com. Um, yeah, so or on LinkedIn, you can find me under Crystal Williams. I'm TEDx speaker, so when you see that in the logo, then you will know that that is me.
Great. And how can we access your TEDx talk?
Oh, so you can actually access my TEDx talk if you go on my website. I believe you should be able to click the link live to the to it, or if you send me an email, it's in my email signature. So you definitely can find it there. But if you want to look me up on YouTube, I am Crystal Williams, and I believe the way that it's listed. So when I look it up, I just look up Crystal Williams TED Talk, it pops up. But the title is Words That Heal Trauma and Cultivate Positivity.
Great. And for someone who may be just listening, it's Crystal, Crystal.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Wonderful. Is there anything that we didn't discuss that you'd like to share?
No, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to work with families, clients, with practitioners to see how we can come together to make life a little bit easier post divorce for children who have special needs and their parents.
Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for your time. It's an honor to work with you and to get to know you and for you to share with our audience about all the things that you can do to help them, whether they're in a divorce situation or just planning for their child for education and other ways as well. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much, Marianne, for having me.